Now, for this material, you will notice that we have an MRP type M0. So this means it's a master production scheduling item. And we have two options. We can do a single level planning with MD42 or a multi-level MD41 planning, so taking into account all the components below. What we will do is an MD42 single level planning, because the idea is to say that for this material we planned, and then there is a process of agreement with the schedule in place. Before all other materials are planned, we need to agree on a specific master schedule, so the other materials are planned afterwards with MRP. This is an example, and you can obviously do MD41 if you want to plan everything in one step from top level to the lowest components. Now, one thing that you can do if you have access is double click on the MRP type, and it will take you to the customizing details. It's just to show you that there are behind this settings that can be important. In our case, we only use planning results not firmed. That's the meaning of the 0. There are other options in which I will not go in details now. We will see that in customizing. So now, going back to MD04, we can do single level planning, MD42. The settings are already saved from my previous execution, so I don't need to change them. I will go later in details on what each parameter is doing. In that case, there is only one level, so there is no option to plan components below. So I just check the input parameters as it says here, and I press enter. The MRP has been carried out. It says below that it's been executed. So now I will just refresh and see the results. So for each material, for each period, I have a plan order that has been generated. So 1st of April, we have one plan order for 10, exactly the amount that is requested. There is no stock, so there is no specific calculation. Each period has its own plan order. So the same for May, I need 20, I need to produce 20, and the same for June, 30. So we also see that there is an exception message called, at least this one is the 62. So if I double click on it, I see that there is a problem with master data. It says scheduling master data inconsistent. I know the problem because this message comes from a routing that is missing. There is no routing yet created for this material. There is a bit of material, but there is no routing. So this is an exception message that is raised, and we will see later where we can understand more how to display information related to exception messages. Now, the second thing, just after you've run this MPS, is to also go in MD46. This is just to show you an image of the results, the way they have been executed just 2 seconds ago. So you go into MD46, you choose the plant, then an MRP controller. In that case, I always default it to the one which is used for parts produced. So in that case, it's make. And then for this transaction, you also need to choose a layout. And I will just choose the standard SAP MPS, Master Production Scheduling Evaluation Layout. I just press enter, and I see the results of the planning that has just been done. So there have been before some planning for the other material. That's why you also see the full list. But in my MD46, this is the list as of now, which has just been executed. And I see here that I have some exception messages in group 4, which is what we saw before. And this is what it means here with NE, it's new exceptions. And this list is made to actually make you go into each part that you think is problematic, have a look at it in the details, and then set the processing indicator to say that you've looked at it and nothing is wrong. You can go to the next steps. So in that case, as an example, I double click on this line where appears this material that I've just planned. I just either double click or I do selected MRP list selection. And I see this display of information. It's different from MD04 in the fact that now you see it as columns. So instead of month, we see the weeks, periods, but we see the same type of information. We see that plan orders have been generated for these periods. So if I click on the line, I see the 3 of them. And same for what is appearing as independent requirements just below. So it's called the issues, planned issues as opposed to planned receipts. So independent requirements here are also shown up as a detailed list. So if I had selected more materials, I could go and use those arrows to go to previous or next material. And in that case, I already looked at the results in MD04. So this transaction is always good when you need to go back after the situation change in MD04, meaning that, for example, you receive stock or sales order and MD04 is changing. It's always refreshed to the latest situation. But MD46 is staying as an MRP list that is a photo of when was the last MPS run, and therefore in that case it will only be regenerated when you do a new MD41 or MD42. So we see the MRP date is today. If tomorrow I do another one, this will be deleted and refreshed. Okay. Do you still wish to exit? Yes. I go back again to MD04, and another way to look at the information is the same more or less display as MD46, but it's the evaluation with MD44, and it's the layout also, but this is different from MD46 in the way that it will always show you the up-to-date information like MD04 do. MD46 is a picture of the results of the MRP. MD44 and MD04 are things that are updated, refreshed all the time and giving you always the latest image. So I go to MD44 and I see directly the same type of information, but I see it again like I showed you before, just in columns. You see the periods, and then in the details you see the elements of planning. So independent requirements, like before, and plan orders. Okay, so this list will always be up to date, and you can always access it also from MD04. It's only showing you a different way of looking at the data. The layout is also a mandatory thing here, so SAP MPS is by default used.